Hello, everyone. If anyone's joined us already, thanks for being here. We'll start in a minute or so. Just letting folks arrive, settle in. Welcome. We'll start in a moment if you're just arriving right now. All right, thanks for joining. I see folks are showing up. We will be starting in about a minute. We'll just let a few other folks arrive before we begin. All right. Hi, everyone. I see people are still showing up, but we'll slow roll into this. Thanks for being here today and joining us to hear about how C.Scale is supporting firms in reporting their portfolios this year for the AIA 2030 commitment. Our goal in most things is to serve the greater ecosystem, right? The greater building community, to make it easier to do carbon assessments on all projects at all project stages, and to make it easier to do reporting and compliance like the 2030 commitment. It's all part of our mission to make climate action accessible to all firms, reducing time and effort, making it easier to achieve this on every project. As you can see, I'm joined today by my colleagues, Jack and David, and we'll be kind of passing the mic one to the next. Before we begin, just know that you please ask questions and make comments in the chat throughout, since we won't leave a lot of time at the end for Q&A. We're keeping it tight today to 30 minutes to let you go do your work. So please use chat freely and we'll answer questions as we go. Okay, so this is the 15th year of the AIA 2030 commitment program. It's been just a galvanizing force in the industry to move us collectively towards carbon neutral buildings. In my prior life at EHDD, we joined the commitment in 2011. I was a sustainable design leader. That's me there some years ago, herding the proverbial cats. I'm sure this looks familiar to those of you who have administered the 2030 commitment at your firms, trying to teach people what EUI stands for, drowning in data that's kind of irreconcilable. So it's not easy, it's worthwhile, but not easy. And things have gotten better for sure. 2030 moved from a spreadsheet to the DDX, but the pain still persists. And again, we're just trying to make it easier to do this. So before we start to really walk through how to do it, we just want to get a sense from this group, what is your biggest pain point or fear around 2030 reporting if you haven't done it before? You can click and score, make your own selection, we think. Let's see, doesn't seem like it's working. Huh. Perhaps you're not able to click. Okay. Sorry about that. Maybe we will move on from that. But we assume that a lot of these are familiar pains from your process. Okay. So today we're going to run through really how to leverage C.Scale for reporting. As it says, your projects that you build are all inherently ready for reporting in various ways. You can still do it manually. You could enter in data into the DDX, but using C.Scale as your single source of truth across your firm. You can export your entire 2025 portfolio directly into the DDX through an Excel sheet. In either case, the goal is that time spent in C.Scale is well spent, as it opens up the potential for project level insights and firm-wide benchmarking in a way that the DDX just can't do. In a moment, I'm going to hand it over to David to actually walk through the workflow. But just to be clear that we're kind of jumping past the point at which you've already built projects. If you would like resources, information on how to build projects, we have some videos in our YouTube channel. You can click on that link and save it for later, or you can look at the bottom of our website and get the link. But there's good resources there to really walk you through how to build projects. Okay, so with that, we're gonna hand the mic to David, and he can start his discussion.
Hello, everyone. All right, I'm going to play a quick video. So the first thing I would do is to get your team into C.Scale. So you can go to the top left, click Manage Members, and then review who's already in the account. And then you can add anyone who's missing so you can start collaborating on projects. This can help distribute your workload. Next, I want to point out a few things to confirm in each project. So I recommend opening the project and then going into your project settings. And here you can confirm things like the analysis period, the lifecycle stages, and the categories that you want to report to AIA 2030. I also recommend plugging in the project number, and this will help align your C.Scale data with your DDX data. Next, you can update the use types, just confirm those are correct. You can confirm the project size in case that has changed, and you can confirm your site settings. Lastly, you can share your project externally with consultants or engineers, and they can help you model out each part of the project. And you can also use commenting to streamline collaboration with your team. I'll just add a fun emoji there, letting Brad know that this is ready for review. All right, so let's talk about the PDF export. You might notice that the export button is disabled. As soon as you set a target scenario, you'll be able to export our AIA 2030 embodied carbon report PDF. So you can click that button. You'll set the phase of the project, the current phase, and then the report will include the data for the scenario that's been set as the target. Click export. And then the PDF that you download here is formatted to match the DDX portal. So I'm going to navigate over to the DDX portal, click into a project, click Add Design Data. And then if you scroll down, you can just make sure that embodied carbon is turned on. Then you'll see all the fields. And then you can copy paste information from our PDF into DDX. Make all the information match. Fill out that it's coming from C.Scale. And then you can fill out the rest of the fields. We won't do that here. We've populated the table as well, so you can copy paste that information in and fill out the new table that exists in DDX. It's a lot to copy paste, but it should go quick with the Excel export. You can also override to include an override for the total GWP intensity, but we recommend not doing that because it reduces the quality of the data, and the data from the table is much richer. So once you've filled that in, can add any carbon reduction strategies, and don't forget to save. So let's go back to the app to talk about the Excel export. So if you go to the dashboard, you can create a new collection of projects. We can name this AIA 2030 reporting. Then we'll select the projects that we want to include for reporting. Complete the settings, and then create that collection. So you might notice that some projects are missing. On the left here, we see this project 2, set a target scenario. So don't be alarmed. You can simply click into that project. It'll open it in a new tab. Again, we'll just set the target scenario. Then we can go back to the collection, and then that project will appear in the collection. So something to note here is that the information in the Excel export is not based on the collection settings. The information that is part of each individual project is what will be part of the DDX bulk export. So now we can export the projects. Click that button, include all the projects, click export, and that will download the Excel file. So when you open the Excel, you'll see each project as a row. We have some notes on a second sheet that highlight some yellow columns that need to be filled out before uploading to DDX. So we recommend making sure that the project number, the office location, and the reporting phase are correctly entered in the sheet. There's other fields that are not mandatory. So here we see those yellow columns, and that's what you can confirm is correct and complete before upload. And then all of the other mandatory data required for upload is automatically included in the sheet. You'll see that here as we scroll right. So after a round of QA/QC, you can go back into DDX. You can go to the Company tab, click Import, and you can find the file that you want to add. So one note is you'll need to save that Excel file that came out of C.Scale, and then close it. And that will enable you to come back into DDX, find it, and then add it. Then you can click Import. It will check for errors, and then you'll be able to successfully upload the data. You'll see the summary report, and it'll say your projects were successfully imported. And that is a quick overview of how C.Scale can help with your reporting. One thing to note here, I think the video is complete. One thing to note is that updating existing projects in DDX can be a bit tricky. So we recommend confirming that your C.Scale projects are all up to date before exporting. And I mentioned some of this earlier, but it means confirming things like the project size, the number of stories, all of that is up to date, as well as the modeling settings for the baseline and target scenarios. So we recommend confirming things like the EUIs, the structural systems, and then the settings for the enclosure, interiors, services, and site work. And that's why we also recommended getting your project teams into the app as a first step so that they can go into those projects and make sure all of the data is up to date and correct. And from there, I'm going to pass it on to Jack.
Hey, David, thank you. There's two questions in the chat that might actually be worth addressing as we make this transition. Let's see, Katie's wondering, and Juliet, how the data in the bulk import-export interacts with data currently within the DDX. Maybe you can speak to that for a minute before we transition to everything else. And if there's other questions in the chat, it seems like we'll have time to go through a bit of it.
So when you push that Excel export into DDX, and it's an existing project, first you need to match it on the project number. So that's why we spoke about that in the video. Go into C.Scale, add that project number. And then when the project has a new reporting year and or a new reporting phase, then that information that's coming out of C.Scale in the Excel file will be added as a new row within DDX. I don't know if that answers the question directly. And Jack, was there a second question? Jack's muted.
You can hear Jack, but I will say, David, maybe you can just explain the process. Like if a project already exists in the DDX from 2024 and you add information in 2025, what's our recommended workflow for that?
So that's what I was trying to highlight at the end. So I recommend, I would open up both the C.Scale app and DDX. Look at the existing information that exists. Probably some of that might be out of date. I would update it there, and I'd also come into C.Scale and make sure that C.Scale is up to date. And as long as you have entered the most up-to-date information in C.Scale, then you should be able to export, like we just demonstrated, either into the PDF or the Excel file, and then upload confidently. I think that's the most straightforward way to do this. We've seen some firms where they try to, let's say, collate an export out of DDX and a export out of C.Scale, and trying to collate that into a single Excel file that then you upload. That's another approach. So that'll work, and that's on the table. But I think probably the most straightforward thing to do is in C.Scale, make sure every project is up to date, match the DDX numbers, confirm the project's size, number of stories, the modeling settings on the baseline and the target, and then you can export and upload with confidence.
All right, awesome. Thank you, David. So to reiterate, the matching in the DDX happens by project year and project phase, reporting year and reporting phase. If there's a duplicate between what exists in the DDX and what exists in the import, there is the risk of overwriting data. This is just an unfortunate part of DDX workflows. C.Scale automatically updates the reporting year to reduce the risk of this sort of duplication. But we recommend checking those two fields against what exists in the DDX. And the sort of collation that we recommend against is exactly to prevent this sort of like overlap or conflict arising between the data that's in the DDX and the data that you're uploading from more than one source. By collecting all of the DDX reporting into a single location like C.Scale, the potential for duplicate data having different properties and overwriting other parts of it is greatly reduced. As firms on the call are working through these flows, we also want to reiterate that we're here to help. We've done a lot of one-on-one sessions with firms to walk through this process. Like buildings, every firm has special cases. so we're really here, any of us on this call, to jump in and assist you in this process to go through it on a call. So we'll share that information. Most of the folks I see on the call we're already working with in some capacity, and we're really here to help in terms of streamlining that reporting. As we work on DDX reporting for the DDX reporting season, we acknowledge that it's one of many commitment programs and certifications that project teams using C.Scale pursue. And this is really exciting to us, that the whole life carbon model from early design all the way through construction with detailed information on energy and materials has the potential to generate simultaneously data for many reporting and certification schemes. helping the model, the LCA that collects all the whole life carbon data, be the single source of truth for the way this data on materials and energy moves through the project. With that, we have released some exciting features within C.Scale that I'll sort of demo now that hints at our next, we'll say, sprint to support additional reporting within the application. And many of the folks on the call that we're working with closely have already seen some of this, but I'll give a run through of different sorts of functionality that some of you may have seen but not tried yet. So I'll share my screen. Awesome. So in the C.Scale interface as existed, we have a new product library function that connects to the building transparency data sets, and it's been really exciting to work with them to build EPD libraries within projects and across firms as we work towards getting product-specific data exposed and available within the LCA modeling process so that these products can be used to set and meet specific whole life carbon climate commitments, bringing together product data, transportation data, end-of-life data with energy data to really get the full picture of the environmental impacts of a project, all the way from the component up to the building scale. So every project now has a library of EPDs that are read into it. You can set statuses of different products that are under review. For any of these that you're looking at, here's a bio-based light fixture that a lot of our users are enjoying. Maybe we can set that as basis of design. We can look at the raw EPD, and it'll download that to your computer. You can also view additional data and life cycle emissions data on those. If I go here and I want to search for new EPDs, maybe I'll be looking at ceiling panels, and I can look through some ceiling panel data. There's a few that I might be curious about. We can bring these up, start to compare, save them to the project, look at the impact data for each, and use that to make decisions on the project. And eventually, as we're building out our deeper modeling capabilities towards LEED compliant lifecycle assessment, this allows us to use these product-specific EPD data in that workflow and functionality, connecting selection to modeling, and also in the coming year, moving into the design data, connecting C.Scale in a more sort of like holistic way to what moves through Revit. So that's a sneak peek of things that exist now and where it's going. And we really see a lot of potential in the process of doing life cycle assessment for buildings, often a very complex consultant-driven exercise, using tools like C.Scale to get it in the hands of everybody everywhere, so that this sort of whole life carbon decision making can be highlighted on every project and move from just being a modeling exercise to something that drives outcomes. And when we look across the industry, we see so many motivated practitioners moving this direction, and it's really our honor to support them in achieving these outcomes on their projects. So I'll pause there. That's really an introduction. And all right, cool. So I see Venus's question here, and this is exactly the backstory here on the DDX, right? The DDX is a really amazing tool built by the AIA that has done so much, and it's had to adapt, year over year to the changing needs of the commitment program, changing needs of firms. And with this, there's some functionality that just doesn't exist today, such as its ability to detect when data might be overridden, such as an ability to automatically import from tool to tool some of this data via API or some other kind of connection. So we're working within the limitations of the DDX as it exists. And that leads to the possibility of exactly what you mentioned, Venus, that data could be overwritten from any import into the DDX. And this is where, at C.Scale, when you do the exports, we set the reporting year automatically to the current reporting year. This prevents the overwrite of data from previous reporting years. We set the reporting phase to the reporting phase modeled in the tool. And that helps, again, to deduplicate this data and prevent overwrites. The risk of the sort of overwrite that you are, I think, indicating here might be that if there's multiple reporting mechanisms for the same reporting year. For instance, some firms maintain an internal data structure for reporting, as they do and should, and has supported them for a long time, and they're using C.Scale. Well, both of these entries might have reporting year 2025 listed within them. That creates the possibility for conflicts like the one that you mentioned. So in this case, this is where people start the process of collating current reporting year templates from multiple sources. If that's the direction you need to take, we're super happy to do whatever we can to support you in that. But really, our recommendation is to use C.Scale, or at least to find a way to collect all of these things into some sort of single source of truth to prevent this risk of duplication and overwrite that is a current limitation of the way that DDX is built. I don't know if David or Brad, you want to add anything to that, but I think it's absolutely a valid concern. And, we're working within the limitations of the existing kind of ecosystem of AIA tooling here.
I added a message in the chat, and I think it's spot on with what you just mentioned, Jack. Yeah, the updating of existing projects is messy. You can go at it several different ways. So I don't want to overprescribe what is the best approach for everyone. But what Jack mentioned is in alignment with what we're recommending. Brad, I don't know if you were going to add anything.
No, I just think, we're, as we mentioned, we're around. We can be reached, but if you're nervous before you upload, check in with us and we can kind of back check your logic. We're going to share out the video of this recording after, so you'll have it. But yeah, we're all kind of figuring it out together and did a lot of work this year to update our export because 2030 increased the number of fields that are available to report as of a few weeks ago. So thank you, David. He's been scrambling to update everything, but we're ready now for this year. We only have a few minutes left. I think, Jack, you had one more, announcement. And then I think we're actually, unless there's other questions, I think we will just wrap it up and let you get back to your day jobs.
Yeah, awesome. I put our emails in the chat and the message got mangled, but I just fixed it. Reach out to any of us individually as a group, hi@cscale.io. We're here to support you in this work and just sort of be a checker and a reviewer on anything that's you're trying to upload, because we understand that this data is precious, risk exists. We want to be your partner in mitigating that risk. As we are continuing to build out the infrastructure to support product EPDs within the LCA modeling process, our users have a lot of questions about the greater EPD landscape. What is a program operator? Why would a manufacturer get an EPD? When EPDs are generated, where do they go? So we have a really exciting webinar coming up on February 26th with some of the best and brightest from the space, the broader lifecycle assessment and environmental impact space, really focused on understanding and improving this ecosystem. Jack Cove from Pathways, and a really amazing EPD generator that's done awesome work in the bulk commodity space. Anna Lasso from Smart EPD. For us, a really exciting digital first program operator, bringing EPDs together, helping validate product category roles and data so that it's more available and accessible and useful for decision making. Sean Darris from Lightly. Sean leads Lightly as a company, bio-based lighting fixtures that are really exciting to us because he was really early in getting EPDs together for lighting fixtures as a product category. And I'll be stumbling through as the moderator, asking these luminaries questions to get them talking about the things that they know so well. So that'll be February 26th. We'll send out an invite soon. And I think it'll be a really nice 101 for people new to EPDs, and we'll say a 201 course for people really interested in digging into how the PCRs and the program operators and the EPD generators, together with the whole building LCA tools, are working together to build a more sustainable built environment. So see you all there. Thank you so much for your input today.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. And remember to reach out with questions.
Thank you.
Thank you all.